to our mental health series, Clinical or Biblical. I'm joined with Brandon, who in the last episode briefly shared about his background with doing graduate studies at Cal Baptist University, taking courses in clinical psychology and also counseling ministry. And he shared a bit about some of the conflicting factors with the two courses he took. And so if you'd like to hear a bit more about his story and where he's coming from, please check out the first episode. But in this episode, we're going to be defining what the body, soul, and spirit are, and why defining these terms will matter for our understanding and application of this topic of mental health. Now, to the brothers and sisters in Christ that are watching, we do want to note that there are different views of the dynamic between the body, soul, and the spirit, but we're going to be hearing Brandon's perspective on that in this episode. So how does that sound, Brandon?
Sounds great.
Okay, so now what I'll ask is break down the difference of body, soul, and spirit.
Yeah, so I think we tend to think very divisively when we hear verses like love the Lord your God with all your might, your body, your soul, your spirit, and then we kind of think of that's, they're all distinct things. And it's like, well, look, we're going to read into, the actual verses, then we'll find that the view, and just throughout the whole Bible, what the view is, even just starting from Genesis with how God creates Adam, which is he creates a physical body for him and he breathes, a spirit into him, and, in the likeness of God, right? And so we have that already two factors. So we already have body and spirit. And altogether, what this makes is a soul. And now the part of that is, why does this matter? Getting to the body, what we have is not just our physical, my heart and all this, but also the part about here, which is the mind, which is honestly a lot of the conversation with psychology.
Right. So the mind, in your view, is a part of the body.
I mean, even scientifically, that's just what it is. It's,
okay.
I mean, the brain's an organ in your body, and that brain can have, different types of failures.
Can't deny science.
Yeah, different types of failures all around, right? To what degree that might be. I mean, we have things like dementia later on in life, right? But oftentimes when the conversation is about mental health, we get into this thing about the body being, people don't tend to think of it as just, this is my body, right? It's tend to be something we don't even kind of have a description for it in the culture, per se, because you go to a doctor or a therapist and you describe emotions, and that's within both your, the feelings of the body and the person of the spirit, right? Mm-hmm. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. So why does it matter? Well, when I want to go and seek help, seek assistance of some sort, how am I to talk about it, right? Where am I looking to get affected with help, right? Mm-hmm. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm. Right. So someone has a psychological disorder or something along those lines. It's going to be important whether they could distinguish that as something going on in the mind or something that's going on in their spirits, or if it's perhaps, take like a Venn diagram, if you will, there's this like middle ground between the two, and you could maybe understand the dynamic of how that, of how both play a role in that.
Yeah, well, the thing is, most of the time when we say mental health, we are talking about things that are not such a drastic level, like dementia, or things that are of those nature, and the forgetfulness or PTSD. Like, most of the culture isn't talking about that. That is a major thing that's happening. I mean, psychology started mainstream wise because of, and I mean, I guess at a cultural level, because of PTSDs and things like that, and then kind of be lifted up by Freud. And we'll get into this more episodes, right? Mm-hmm. But when we talk about it in the sense of mental health nowadays, it's mostly just an emotional thing is what we're talking about. So that's why it's really easy for us to bring the wrong solutions and be so gung-ho when it comes to wanting the clinician, the professional. And not that those are bad things, right? They're not. But that's our steady thing, and I'm going to take the quick, easy, and simple route, and that's it in terms of medicine or drugs or what have you, right? Then we can get into a little bit of trouble. I mean, America's the number one most drugged up country in the world, for some good reasons and some mostly bad reasons, in terms of, hey, like the average diagnosis takes about 6 minutes. That's how long the average takes. And to get to know a whole person in that way, from an emotional level alone in 6 minutes, we might be in the weeds a little bit, you know?
Okay. I think that's a good place to leave it for this episode, and we're going to get more into the application in the next episode, where we're going to examine a few viewpoints within Christian thought that we're seeing within our culture, and so we'll be engaging those views and seeing how this applies to our lives in the next episode. So Stay tuned for that. Thank you. If those episodes are already posted and you're watching this much later, then continue to stream them, and if not, stay up to date with all our content by subscribing
And
so,
sharing,
sharing, with your friends. So we'll see you next time. Bye bye, guys.